Hi there, Gary Williams here. Thank you so much for downloading the ebook on how to make a killer video. And as promised, here I am with three, hopefully, short videos talking you through some of the key points from the book. Now, just the fact that you're here already tells me that you understand how powerful video can be to promote your company. You know, over the last 30 odd years, I've recorded literally thousands of videos and voiceovers, and I'm going to share with you some of the secrets, some of the tips that I've learned over the years. So let's get straight into it. In this video, we're going to talk about getting the right equipment, and all of that starts with the camera. Now, like most of the equipment, when I first started doing this, 30 odd years ago, it was such a specialized thing. There was no question of sort of having this in your own home studio. You'd have to go to a proper sort of TV recording studio, which is where I'd do all of the shoots, or they'd be on location. To do green screen was a really specialized thing. Now you can get a complete setup. I mean, you can spend as much or as little as you like, right? But I reckon for sort of $2,000, something like that, you can get a good enough setup to get started. Now, it's not going to be terribly helpful when I say to you that as far as the camera is concerned, like a lot of this stuff, the more you spend, the better the quality is going to be, the easier your life's going to be, right? So that's a general rule, but you don't need me to tell you that. When you're looking for a camera, one important thing with the camera setup is the lens. You need a good quality lens on the camera, and one of the things that identifies a good quality lens is a wide aperture. I'm not going to get too technical into how cameras work and photography works, but it's all about letting as much light in as possible to the sensor, which is the digital sensor at the back of your camera, which replaced old analog film. And the bigger the aperture, the bigger the hole, the more light can come in to the camera, the more light can hit the sensor, and that's going to mean that you can get a better quality image. And the more expensive the apertures, the bigger the hole gets. So you'll find that if you're spending more money, you'll get a lens which has got a wider aperture. Okay, so do get the best kind of lens that you can afford. It'll help. Actually, having said that, we'll get onto green screen in a minute, but another reason for having a wide aperture is because if you're taking still photographs with an SLR, fancy camera, or even now with some iPhones can do it, you get that nice blurry background, and you get that from having a wide aperture on a lens. And that's nice because it helps to give some separation between the background and you, the subject. It helps you pop a little bit. So if you're not using green screen, if you're shooting on location, if you're shooting in a garden, in a park, on the street, it's nice to have a little bit of a blurry background so that you pop and make a little bit more impact to the viewer. And you get that generally by having a better quality lens. One feature to look for on the camera is to have face or eye detection. This will help you because if you've got the camera in autofocus, as you usually will have, it means that you're gonna, even if you're moving around, the camera's gonna track you quite quickly. Not all cameras have that, so look for that feature. Make sure you've got a good battery life, or that it can be mains powered and still record while it's connected to the mains, because if you're recording long videos, that's something that's going to be quite important. Another feature, I'm getting through this quite quickly, by the way, because I really want this video to be short, and I'm worried that it's not it's not going to be short. Audio in and audio out, particularly audio in. That's something that you absolutely need on your video camera. Right now I'm using this little microphone here, which is attached to a transmitter, which is in my pocket, which is going to a receiver, which is plugged into the camera. And that's something that's really quite important because to use the built-in microphone on the camera, most of them have got it, it's really not going to be very good. And it means that you're going to have to be very close to the camera. With this little system, I can be miles away from literally miles, but I can be a long way away from the camera and still get good quality sound. As far as quality of the image is concerned, you should really be looking at a camera with 4K capability, at least HD. The SD card, the little memory card that goes into the camera, should be a good quality one as well. It should have a high capacity because these videos can get really big, and also it should be could have quite a fast record and write speed. And the reason I say that is because I've got a really good SD card now, but when I had kind of a standard SD card, it would actually take me longer to transfer the files from the card onto the computer so I could start the edit than it would to actually make the recordings in the first place. It used to drive me mad. I used to literally have to, just step out the room and go and do something else, waiting 20 minutes for files to transfer, which, who's got the time? So, good quality SD card. Let's talk now about the tripod. Obviously, you need a tripod so that your camera is very secure and steady when you're recording, and it's easy to skimp a little bit on a tripod, but I would advise you, you don't need to go crazy, but get a decent quality tripod so it's very solid, it's very secure, not just some light flimsy thing which is going to be affected by little vibrations. The nice thing about a good quality tripod as well is that once you've got it in position, you can really lock it into place, or you can make very small adjustments and lock it into place, which is not so easy to do with a cheap tripod. Now, you may have noticed this little thing, this little remote control in my hand. I don't normally use this when I'm shooting videos for clients, but the reason I'm using it now, and the reason you can see it, is because I'm using a teleprompter, and I haven't got everything cued on the teleprompter. Now, normally when I shoot videos for clients, the script is agreed in advance. I don't want to learn the script. I'll familiarize myself with it, I'll practice it, but I will put it onto a teleprompter system like an auto cue. And I know the speed that I want to speak at. I'll talk to the client usually first. I'll get an idea whether they want it to be quite fast, like I'm doing this, quite fast, or whether they want it very slow. Often if the audience is a non-English speaking, or well, they speak English but it's not their first language, they want me to speak in a much more slow and deliberate way. They would perhaps ask me to speak at this kind of speed so I can very clearly articulate the points that I'm trying to make, which seems very slow, but for that audience it's important. Now, I'll know the speed that I'm going to set. I'll set it, I press play, I press start for the text moving, and then I can get rid of this and I start making the video. In this case, I use this technique if I'm recording training videos or e-learning things or webinars for people, where I'll have a very good understanding of the subject, so I can talk for a long time without it being scripted, but I actually want some cues. I want some visual cues, much in the same way that you might use a PowerPoint presentation and you put on a slide. It's not got everything on the slide that you're going to say, but it's got a few bullet points, and that cues you what to talk about. And that's the way that I'm using the teleprompter now. Teleprompters, the fact that they're so much more accessible now, is a real game changer if you're wanting to make your own videos. You can get teleprompter systems now for about £100, $100 and odd, so cheap. They attach to the front of the camera, and you would put your phone underneath the teleprompter. You have software on the phone, you put your script onto the software, and that is what you're reading. It reflects onto the special glass on the teleprompter, and that's how it works, which is insanely cheap and accessible. Again, when I first started getting an auto cue, and still now when I do bigger shoots, there's somebody there who's hired only to deal with the teleprompter, and they're sitting there adjusting the speed. Of course, it's great when you've got somebody. It's great when you're working with a full team, but when you're doing it yourself, and I'm recording this completely solo, which is something that you'll probably be doing as well, you need as much control as you can get. Anyway, teleprompters are very accessible, very easy to use, and is a real game changer. You can even get apps now for your phone which sort of have the teleprompter built in, so that you can record yourself. You can press record to start videoing yourself, and on the phone's just propped up or in a little holder on a tripod. The actual script that you've set is moving along as a teleprompter would do on the same screens. It's all built in. You don't need anything else, which is great if you just want to make a simple video. And often people do want very sort of kind of homemade looking videos. They don't want things to look overproduced. They want it to look like somebody, just some ordinary person, is just sharing this like they would do to their mates. Sometimes that's a more powerful sales technique. Now the microphone. You know, I've read that people are more forgiving of dodgy picture quality than they are of sound quality. Sound really seems to bother people and affect people. So, you know, I'm using this little lav mic, this lavalier mic now, this clip-on mic. This, as I mentioned before, is connected to a little box of tricks. I'm using, this is the Rode Go system. This is the brand is Rode, and the little box, the transmitter that it's going into, is the Rode Go system. Now, on the Rode Go system, again, for what it is, I think it's incredible quality for the price. I don't actually need to use this little mic. On the transmitter, it's got its own built-in microphone, but it's a little bit bulky, and this is a better quality mic. So microphone is really important. Get a decent quality one, but you'll find that you don't have to spend a lot of money to do that. Mentioning brands, by the way, going back to the camera, there are so many cameras available. Of course, do your own research, as I'm sure you will, online, and see what you want. The camera that I use is a Fuji X-T4, and like a lot of people making videos now, they're using what is really an SLR camera, which was primarily designed for taking stills. I love photography just as a hobby. I got a Fuji X-T3, the old model, and I got it purely for taking stills, just taking photographs. I had no idea that this particular camera had really incredible video capabilities built into it. All of the things that I've said that you need for making professional videos, the X-T3 had it built in, and the X-T4 was very similar but just slightly better, and you can change the lenses on it as well. So that's what I use, but of course do your own research. There's loads of great stuff out there. So that is the microphone. When you've got the microphone set up, you need to check the levels are right. I have made adjustments. I think, you know, the transmitter goes to the receiver goes into the camera, and then on the camera I've changed the levels because it was a little bit too hot, it was a little bit too loud. If you have it too loud, of course it's going to start peaking and distorting the sound. If you have it too low, my voice isn't going to be loud enough, so then when I'm doing the edit I have to turn it up, and if I do that, it's going to pick up some of that sort of background white noise, that sort of hum, that buzz that's always there that we don't really pay any attention to. So get the levels right, and also be careful. You'll notice most of the time when I've been talking to you today, I'm sort of in the same place, but sometimes, of course, if I look down here, if I'm going to start talking about my shoes, you'll notice that, of course, I've got louder because I'm talking into the microphone. And if I turn my head over here and I'm talking, it's going to be a little bit quieter than it is when I'm talking over here. So when you are shooting, if you have got a mic clipped onto you, make sure you don't move away too much from that. Be aware of what your body's doing. Now let's talk about the green screen. Oh, sorry about that, just ruined the magic for you. Let's get that back. Green screens, it's incredible and very simple technology. And like I said, back in the day, it was a really specialized thing to go to a studio with green screen. Now you can go, you know, anywhere, get online, go to Amazon, and you probably get a green sheet for about $10, £10, something like that. You don't even need a green sheet or a specialized green screen. It's just an even green color of a, you know, reasonably similar sort of bright shade. You could paint a wall if you wanted to do that. The magic of the green screen is really realized in the software. So there's this thing called keying. You'll put your original footage into the software, you'll key out the background, and you can put in whatever background you like. There are lots of videos on YouTube to help you setting up your green screen. What you need is for the screen to be lit very well and very evenly. You can't be standing too close to the screen, otherwise you'll get some of the green will reflect back onto you because it's quite bright, it's lit well, and that light will bounce back off the screen onto you, and you'll have this sort of green haze around your head, and you can't be too far away either. And that takes us on to lighting. Lighting is really key. It's probably one of the most, you know what, they're all important aspects, but lighting's really important. Now, you have a light bulb or a number of light bulbs in the light, or a big LED panel. What I always use, what most people will always use, are soft boxes. These are, you may have seen these in photographic studios. So you've got the actual light itself, and then there's this really big box, soft box, literally around the light, and it's got a panel of, how can I describe this? It's sort of almost like tissue paper. It's a fabric. It's somewhat transparent, and it diffuses the light, it spreads the light. So rather than the naked bulb, just as you would have at home, right? If you've got a bulb and there's no shade over it, you've just got this kind of bright, garish light. If you put a shade around it, it softens and it spreads the light. And that's exactly what we're doing in the studio, because we want a very nice, even, soft light, whether that's on myself, the subject, you, or on the green screen. So, and this is actually pretty much the same way that it works with natural light. So if you are going to shoot outside, and if you've got nice natural sunlight, that can be beautiful, because that's all these studio lights are trying to replicate, really, for what we're doing, right? And I used to shoot a lot with natural sunlight. I used to have a big sort of conservatory area with really big windows, but the thing to be aware of is that you don't really want to be shooting in harsh, direct sunlight, in the same way that you don't want to be shooting with harsh, direct synthetic light, right? You need in the studio these diffusers. So if you've got a nice, even cloud base, if it's a cloudy day, not too dark, but if it's some light cloud, that is acting like a gigantic diffuser for the sun, and it's really nice to shoot in those kind of conditions. So I like to shoot inside, and I like to shoot in a room where I can block out all of the light, and that means that I can control the light entirely myself. And that's important because I want to have some kind of consistency for my clients, for my videos to have a similar kind of look. In my normal shoots, I like to have 5 lights. I've got 2 lights either side of me with soft boxes lighting my face. I've got 2 more bigger lights lighting the green screen, and I've got a 5th light which is actually on top of the video camera. It's on the hot shoe where the flash gun would normally go. That's just shining on the front of my face as well. Sometimes I might have an additional light, a 6th light. It's called a key light, which will be sort of up there behind me, just sort of giving a little bit of light reflecting off the top of my head. But when you've got hair like mine, you've got to be careful with that. Let's talk about the computer and editing software. You know, video is quite heavy on a computer, so you are going to need a powerful computer to edit the files, and lots of storage space. As far as editing is concerned, there are lots of software options out there, but the 2 main pieces of software which people like to use are Premiere Pro and Final Cut. I use Final Cut. I've used it for years. I know it, I like it, I'm quick at it. A lot of my friends prefer Premiere Pro. They say that it's better, it's more functional, they can do more things with it quicker and easier. They may be right, I don't know, but certainly Final Cut is more than I need to do the kind of stuff that I work with. So that's really up to you. It takes time, obviously, to learn how to use software. For me, and I'm sure the same for you as well, it's just a matter of watching a load of tutorials which you can get for free on YouTube. And I also got some one-on-one training to sort of cut through. Sometimes it's really hard to get the answers to specific questions that you need. You can be looking all day online to try and find the answers, where if you're talking to an expert, you can just say, how do I do that and how do I do this? So that was very helpful for me, but you know, it's a learning curve, but it should be worth it for you. Let's talk a little bit about the actual home studio setup, or in your office, where you're going to set up your studio. It needs to be a quiet room, obviously. We don't want trains rumbling by or kids shouting or whatever. It needs to be a quiet space. It also ideally wants to be a soft room, not a bouncy room. What I mean by that is, if you've got a room which has got lots of soft furnishings or it's carpeted, think of a professional recording studio. You know, they have that foam on the walls. It makes it quite a soft, kind of a dead sound. It's not echoey. There are different studios that I've worked in over the years, and in the next video I'm going to play you some various video clips of work that I've done, and you'll hear very clearly the differences in different spaces that I've worked in. Sometimes I've been working in quite lively, bouncy rooms, not like this. This is a really nice, dead, soft recording space specifically for doing this kind of work. So if you can, work in a nice warm soft room. It needs to be dark so you can block out all of the light, and quite cool as well, because these lights, they're certainly not as bright, as hot as they used to be, but they do get warm. So you need somewhere with some quiet air conditioning, or somewhere that just generally isn't going to be too hot. I've done shoots before where it's just so hot. I used to live in Spain, and you can imagine all the lights on me. I mean, I would just be sweating like crazy. So don't live in Spain in the height of summer and decide to start recording videos, there's one tip for you. That's it for this video. I hope it wasn't too long. Sorry I was talking quick. I just wanted to get it all through. The next video is going to be on how to write a great script. I will see you then.